Good morning. Out here trying to get this done before the sun starts hitting up. And what we're doing here today, I've got about a week's time before the silicone and materials that I need to finish off this thing dog arrive. And what I'm doing here is creating a base for a shark fin, tabletop shark fin. Now what we have right here is what's called a carcass cast fin. Okay? And this is in fiberglass. And what happens with that, what that entails is when you have an animal that you want to make a mold of, like say a bear or a deer or something like that, or a fox or squirrel, any animal you can get your hands on that you want to make a mold of, what you do is you generally skin it, and then you fiberglass, you freeze whatever it is that you're molding, like say the head. Like I've got that bear mold up there. What we did was we skinned the bear's head, froze the bear's head, and then we fiberglassed the frozen head. And you do that with fish and things like that. Now with a shark, you have to you freeze the fin in the freezer, and then you fiberglass mold it, and you get all the details and everything that are in this, and just make, you can make a fiberglass copy. But I wanted to make a tabletop thing because you could just have a fin, but the fin won't stand on its own. So I thought, you know what, let's make a tabletop copy. So what I'm basically doing is I'm sculpting the back of a shark right here. And I'm doing two things. One, I've got the back pretty much sized up and shaped out. And then I'm going to smooth it out. And then I'm going to texture it. I've got a texture pad right here, which is going to give the skin a bit of a realistic feel to it. And how I do that is I just take this texture pad and run it along the back of the in the clay, and it puts texture in the clay and helps smooth it out, and it gives it a rough appearance like a shark's skin would be, because if you rub a shark one way, it'll be smooth. And if you rub it backwards, if you rub it this way, it'd be kind of smooth but bumpy. If you rub it backwards, you'll cut your hand all to bits, because it will. Sharks have very sandpapery skin. They have little things called denticles, which are their skin, which is embedded into it. It's a survival mechanism. Also helps sharks move aerodynamically through the water. So what I'm doing now is just taking this texture pad and going along here and just making impressions, and it's smoothing out some of the wrinkles and putting in skin detail, so it will feel like a shark's skin when you touch it, and so far as the base goes. And there are a couple of places I gotta get a wrinkle or two out of here, kind of smooth things over so it doesn't show up as a wrinkle. But this is a quick little project that I've had on my mind for a while to do, and I missed it because I was concentrating on the thing dog. So I missed Sharks Week 2024 by a week or so, and a few days now. I think maybe it's about a week. But it's not too late, There's Shark Week every week, or every year, so it's fine. And this was something I had thought about doing for a while. So all I'm doing is texture padding the skin here Then I will card the edges of this all the way up and down, and then we'll silicone each side of it. There'll be a two-part mold. It has to be a brush-up mold for the skin, for the fin, and then it will be put together, and then there'll be a brush in for each side of resin, just a light layer, and then it can either be a solid resin or foam filled. I haven't decided which way I want to go on that. I'm thinking I might do solid resin, but hollow. This part will be solid for the most part. This part will be like a hollow, bowl shape type thing. But it'll be rigid enough that it can sit on a table. It won't be completely filled with resin. So that way it makes like a tabletop display once it's done, it's painted, and that type of thing. So basically it becomes like a great white shark's fin on a tabletop. So I'm just going through here, mashing in the texture pad on the vac that I want to have emulate the shark's vac here. I spent a couple hours just kind of building the vac last night while it was cool. I thought, get out of here first thing in the morning, texture pad this thing, knock it out while it's still cool, and start siliconing it. Now there's two types of silicone I use. The Thing Dog, for all the parts and everything that I'm doing with that's called platinum silicone. That is a pourable. The brush up that I use is a tin silicone, and there's two different kinds of silicone that are used in the molding of these things, of the projects that I do. The brush ups, whenever I sculpt something or make something like this, it's very vertical, and it needs a base to sit on, and it needs to have something to grab on. I will use a brush up silicone for it. And as soon as I get this thing fully textured right here, and all the wrinkles and details and stuff put in it where it just doesn't look like it, there's some scarring. Kind of want to, put some scarring and stuff like that in the hide in the back. But the texture part is what's a little bit more important. Clay's kind of hardened up, and I got to get it silicone before it heats up, because when it heated up, this gets soft, this oil-based clay. So I'm tapping it down and getting all the details pushed in there with a texture pad. And it's also going along eliminating any lines and bumps and wrinkles. Because the shark skin will and can be smooth, but it also has some symmetry to it, to where it is It's unique. I have scars and stuff on it from age, battles, what have you. Now, I'm not doing any major scar work. I'm just a little bit with some of these lines and bumps and stuff. I'm putting it in there. Because I don't want it to be 100% smooth. It doesn't need to be 100% smooth. Because if you handled sharks before, Rachel, I know you've done that. You catch quite a bit. You know, handling sharks, for the most part, the skin is smooth, but there are some lumps and bumps in there. It's what helps them move through the water aerodynamically. They're not always a perfect symmetrical shape, but generally, for the most part, they are. I've been studying these things since I was like 7 or 8 years old. So, I got hooked with watching Jaws and studying sharks ever since I was knee-high to grasshopper. I read every book, watched every, there wasn't really anything in movies other than Jaws back in the day. There were a couple of documentaries, but I'd read every single book I could get on. I gotta locate my cards here. Find them. A little bit of this tape. I need my playing cards, and I don't know exactly where they went. I have to break out some new ones if I find them. But as per usual, I do make a flange of cards on here. Ah, crap. Go right along the edge of this thing, just barely on the inside, because I don't want to disrupt any details on this. Oh, fine. Let's have a new pair of scissors. Got that right here. I have no idea where those cards went. Right on the outside edge. I'm going to have to cut this. Hang on a second. I need to get my big scissors. And cut this right here. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this thing off right here. Tape. That way I can utilize some of it where it's split. I don't need it. And what I do is I build a flange on one side so I can brush out silicone and have a good parting line, because it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be two parts. One part here is silicone and plaster bandage. The other part is silicone and plaster bandage. Then I'll put it together and mold it. Get a very, very smooth line right there. And you have your tape put together. I wish I knew where my cards were. I'm going to have to get some more because I've misplaced them or something. I've got one right here. I've got some down here on the floor. Couple like this. I take these playing cards and just put them back in behind there, like that. Some more cards, hang on. And the box and stuff fall down. So I think my cards went, I got a box of cards right here. Shit. These are just aviator playing cards. You can get them in Dollar Tree or Dollar Store or whatever. I try to reuse as many of them as can, but sometimes they get messed up with the materials and you can't really reuse the cards. So sometimes they get destroyed in the process, and then I have to go get another one. Let me get my scaffold real quick. I found the box right here. Excellent. Found another box. We have a little bit of a cleanup thing here to do. There we go. Put that right there. Along that front. I'm not going to embed that in the clay because I don't want the impression to register in the silicone. So Take a card and put it behind there. Can use cards in front, but I like to do it behind sometimes because it's a more smooth fence. I'll back that up a little bit. I'll just put another one down there. It'll stick on there. You have to get real strong tape. Painter's tape doesn't really work for this. That's that blue tape that I've got somewhere here. I brought it over. I don't think I've put it down, but painter's tape is that blue tape you put around the borders and stuff before you paint it, like in your house. Now here's the tricky part, because a lot of this fin is been cut away and it's natural. So I gotta very carefully put that right on the card and not on the fin. But I gotta cover up that gap. So I'm going to be cutting an angle on this. I'll be able to cut this in sections and use it. Oh, don't do that. And then come over here and just very carefully put that tape right on top of the other tape, right along the very, very edge. It's barely hanging on. It won't even hang on, it's come off. Barely hanging on. I don't know where that piece went. There it is. And then I'll just drop this down here and just very carefully, right there along the edge. Just enough for the card to slip on there. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because when I go to brush up silicone it, I'm going to do a light line right here, kind of heavy, just to hold that in place. Even though it's barely on there, it's barely registered, you actually see a little bit of daylight through there. That's why I've got these cards back behind it, because cards will keep it from the silicone from slipping past the tape and everything. And I'm putting this right on the tip of this fin. There's a groove right here that's registered. I'll get all the debris off of here. And this carded flange will go all the way around down to the back. And I'll put that right square across the top right there, because I know where my tip is. Our card flanges work better than clay. Because when you make clay's going to be heavy, it's going to be cumbersome. Playing cards are very light and easy as long as you tape them to your subject as well as themselves. That's why I use playing cards pretty much for everything, flange-wise. Now I put myself in a little bit of a box here because I have to do it from this side and I have to go back down the back. These are some of the things I work on when I'm in between projects, waiting for materials and have ideas and stuff I want to do. And we'll get started on them and then come in and go, okay, here's the process of this, that, and the other. For some of you beginners in the mold making group, I know I get some flack sometimes from a moderator that runs it about how I do stuff. Well, I'm showing you that there are several ways to do things, and all are effective to a degree, but me showing you how this is done proves that the way that I do things does indeed work, despite any criticism I may get. And if possible, some of the professionals and all these other people that want to criticize me, or may want to criticize me, can learn something. Metal shims are another one that I used to use, but I don't anymore. It's all flame cards. Either flame cards and tape and clay or whatever. I've kind of become, spoiled in finding the easiest way to do this and not make it difficult or harder than it needs to be. The only thing where I will use a clay wall is in mask making. In mask making, clay walls do work better. But if I'm making a silicone mask, I will likely use playing cards. Now, for the latex mask, I will use clay. I'm not making too many latex. I got one, a Freddy sculpt I'm going to be doing that I will register as likely a silicone. I want to do it in latex, but how many fucking Freddys do you have out there that have been done in latex? And there'd be another one to add to the bunch. It's not really a wearable mask. It's going to be more like a prop. People have been asking me about doing the decapitated Freddy head that I have. And I thought, you know what? I may do my own version, sculpt it, and do it. So that will be coming up shortly. I got another dilemma because I've got the flange line here. I don't want to obliterate any of those wrinkles. You probably can't see them because the wrinkles they're heavily detailed in this thing, but and they're natural. Well, the first batch of silicone that I mix up will be a fast catalyst silicone. and it will be one that will cure in like less than 5 minutes, because that's what it is. It's a fast cat silicone. So it's supposed to cure quickly, like within 5 minutes. I'll mix up a small batch and do a thin line run on here. Let's get all this detail in here. Got the card up too far. I need just to barely hang on the front and have this card just pressed in on the back when it's overlapping. Nope, I've already done that, so I've already messed that. Not only am I going to do a shark fin, I'm also going to make a set of shark jaws. So there are a number of shark projects coming out. A number of them. Got the piece right here I did. Shit. When I messed up, I just fixed it. The tape is real sticky. This is 3M red duct tape. Extra strong, extra sticky. So you got to be careful when you're doing this, because whatever it picks up, dirt and debris, it's going to stay on there. There's no getting rid of that. Flip that card back up. Put it on. Make sure that's not inhibiting the edges. A couple more. I'll be able to start mixing up a first batch of silicone and make the part one side of this. Now, with anybody else, this might take days for them to do, weeks, whatever. For me, since I've been doing this stuff for a few years, it doesn't take me but, mere hours to do it. As long as the weather cooperates and everything, I don't have a problem with anything insofar as molding and whatnot. And this just is no more proof that it doesn't take weeks and months and shit sometimes to do stuff. Now, as long as I've got the materials, which I do. That's why I elected to get this project up and out of the way real quick. Because I have the materials on hand to do it. Okay, so here we have it completely flanged and ready to start molding. I'll get some of our tools out of the way. I really need a new table, and I'm going to get a new table. Now, here's where we go over here and we get our tensile silicone. Mold that stroke. That's the silicone that's brushable, stays vertical, adheres to everything and anything. Let's get a brush. This is not the same stuff that I'm molding. The blue silicone that I use for molding is platinum. And you cannot mix platinum and tin silicone. You have to keep them separate. Get a clean little cup. Okay. You got a drug scale. The silicone, you got to measure it by weight for the most part. At 10 to 1. So, get your little drug scale. If it wants to work. I'll be able a new one. I never change the batteries in these things. When they run low and they run out, I'll just go buy another one. I got 2 or 3 of the drug scales. Okay. So tear it out. Make sure you have it in grams. Now I'm just going to pour a little bit. I'm going to high pour the silicone right in there. I've got 70 grams on the nose. Okay? 70 grams. That's the weight. Well, now it wants to say 66. Okay? Now I go down here for my catalyst. I always keep my catalyst and stuff underneath here. Come on. God dog it. I know it's around here somewhere. If it's not, I got a box of it that has yet to be opened. Damn, I know it's right here somewhere. There it is. Rolling that stroke. Right here. Part D. Got a little jar of this. I got big containers of it. Okay. Shake it thoroughly. Get a daggum pair of pliers to open this up and get it. Okay. Now you want to zero out the scale again. Zero that out. Now you got 10 to 1. So you know, 70, 100 to 10 actually is where it is. So I didn't have 10, I had 70. So that means I need 7 grams of this catalyst. So just gently pour 7 grams in there till it registers weight-wise. There it is, 7. And it doesn't take much. Does not take much. Scale that out, put that aside. Stir stick, get in here and stir this up. Now I'm going to put a little tint in this because it's white and the silicone is white. So I need to register a color on this. So I'm going to go with a silicone tint here. I'm going to pick one. Let's go with a tan color. This is called Silfig, this silicone rubber color system. This is how you color your silicone. You can go with a flesh color. What you want to do is take a little bit of this, get it out, I've got more, and put it in the silicone mix. And that way I'll color it. Yeah, it's white. Watch this. I'm going to stir it and color it up. I'm going to stir it up real good. And you want to make sure it's a solid tan color. No streaking and no white showing anywhere whatsoever. Got a little bit of working time. I didn't use the fast cat on this. I just used a regular. So, stir it up. Comes out a flesh color. I'm going to stir it a little bit better just to make sure it's all mixed up. You got your brush. And I'm just going to do a light first layer on here. Then I'll come back 2 or 3 more layers. They'll be a little bit heavier. Probably be about 2 or 3. With this light layer, it's just going to ensure this flange gets sealed and everything. You hear the air bubbles popping out of this thing. And it's actually degassing. You do not need to degas this. You do not need to degas this. It does it naturally. Take your brush, dip it in there, and just brush it on. Go right along the flange there, put a little bit on the subject. It can get on there and it can, get a little gumpy, but first thing I'm doing is just brush them right here on this flange. Cover that. Make sure that's good and sealed. Well, eventually you end up doing the whole thing on this side. And brushing right over that flange, covering any of the spots that might be open, because a thin layer will not seep through. It'll adhere because it's vertical, and we'll go right over it. It's not to say that you have to have gaps, but every once in a while you might have a little light showing. And if you do a gentle brushing on there, it'll cover it. Then just take it and brush it all over like you would like a paintbrush. Don't push too hard though. See, the stuff stays vertical. It doesn't run. It doesn't drip, doesn't run, nothing. You got to do a light layer first. And go right there and just go along the flange. Now what I'm doing is I'm assuring the silicone will stick to the tape to get that strengthened where those cards will stay adhered to the frame. The name of the game is light strokes, light brushing. Come out on your flange a little bit. Don't put a whole bunch of weight on it for the first layer. I'll see right here, it wants to come off. So I got to brush it right back against the card thing right there. See? Doesn't go through. And then once I've got that brushed on there, it'll stay. I'll show a little bit of light, but it's going to get through. It'll be right there, and it's just brush it. There you go. And this is a detail coat for the most part. Print coat, as some people call it. You get down here on the bottom and kind of brush it over and make sure you get the... And this will be the same application you'll do to the front and the back of it. I may or may not have enough to cover all this, I don't know. But if I need to mix up some more and do it, that's fine. Notice even down here on the base it's not running. I'm staying put. brush that in there. Get that all nice and good. Putting it on thick in one spot and just brushing it back. And get over here on my flange. I see those details are puffing out. You got to brush with the details so you get them all covered. You brush with and then brush again. And they've mixed up enough to cover this. Got to make sure you're getting those details. That's the important thing that needs to show up. That's why this is a print coat. Right now, if I had used my fast cat, it would start setting up right about now. Smooth out all those lines. If you make gaps and you have like little bits of uncovered or not fully covered, it's okay. Your next layers, your next 2 or 3 layers will go in there and cover those up. I gotta get this end piece secured here. There we go. If it helps, you can also take the stick and do it with a stick. And just take that, the popsicle stick up there, smooth it out. Be careful not to touch it because the stuff will stick to you and it will get on you and it'll pull hairs. Now this is not a Jaws fin. Mike is doing the Jaws fin. I'm doing a great white shark fin. That's what this is going to be. A real great white shark fin. R-E-E-L. Not R-E-A-L. It is a real shark fin, but it wasn't taken from a dead shark. I say carcass casting because you take it off the body of the animal. But I did not kill and capture and kill a shark to do this. I didn't, personally. Although I know that Rachel would do that. But she goes shark fishing a lot. The fiberglass casting of a shark fin, taken from a real shark, which I believe this one is dead. But I want this to be a real shark fin to promote conservation of sharks with Mike and Kathy. So Okay, now I'm just going to take this and just kind of do this right here. Right along the flange right here. And take the brush. See, it's thick and it won't run. That's why this is good silicone to use. This is a tensile silicone. That's not platinum. Platinum's loose and runny. Tensile is, as long as you've got a catalyst that makes it vertical. And you have to use, a lot of the time people use what's called Thivex thickener, and that thickens it up. But they do make compounds that are already thick and brushable. My silicone guys in High Point make one that's brushable, but it's lumpy. It's like peanut butter. And that's real good. But it goes on thick. And it is quite expensive. Registering probably like $500 for 5 pounds of it, or 5 gallons, which is probably 10 pounds. And I see it is expensive. Right on the bottom here, getting the flange in there. That's the first layer. First layer on one side, covered. It'll take a couple hours for that to dry, and when it does, I'll come back out and I'll do 2 more. And then I'll go to the other side and do 2 more, put keys on it, and then plaster bandage wrap it on both sides so I can secure it and have a mother mold. And this will be just as you see it. When it's done up in resin, it'll be a tabletop shark fin that you can get, put on your table. And that right there is it, boys and girls, for the moment. Let that dry. I'll mix up another vest of silicone, pick another color, put another layer on there. Then that dries, I'll pick up another layer and put it on there. And the key to that layer. So it'll be 3 layers deep on each side because it's fairly thin. I don't need it overly thick. Because what I'll do is for the first layer of the brush up, it'll be plaster bandage, and then plaster bandage on the outside after I do the silicone with the keys. And then I can lay it down, I can brush it up on the inside with a layer of resin. Put it together, and it'll have a thing where I can clamp it because I'll put keys right here. And then on the other side I will also do keys so it can snap together. After I take this off, when I get this done, get it keyed for the plaster bandage, I'll take the bandages off. I will key the other side and then release it with Vaseline on each key and then brush over it on this side. And that way, when I go to demold it and pull it apart, all those keys that are on there will release in the holes. It'll make impressions on one side that are positive, like keys, and then the other side that gets brushed on will go over it, but it will be released with Vaseline all over that, over those keys and this side. So that way it won't stick. Because silicone doesn't stick to anything but silicone unless you've got it released. So there we go with the first layer. Let me get a little bit better on this. I've got one little spot down here. One little spot needs to get a little bit of silicone on it. I'll scrape out the rest of this on here. And I don't like to waste. And even though it's just a minute amount in the bottom of the cup, it's going to be enough to put on here to brush up and color this spot that's a little exposed right there. And that's an example of where I said if you don't cover everything, don't worry about it, because you're doing 2 or 3 more layers. So everything will get covered. I scrape my brush down the side of the thing and get more silicone out of the brush and put it on where I need it to be. It's starting to get thick and starting to be silly, so I gotta leave it alone. Alright, so there we go. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll probably see you when we're getting ready to get this thing done on the other side, demold, all that stuff. Alright, thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned.